Welcome to MuggleCast 386. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
And we're joined by one of our patrons this week, one of our Slug Club supporters. Hi, Laura, hailing from New York.
Hi, everybody.
It's nice to have you on. I know you've been a long-time listener. You're on a great episode because, I don't know if you heard, but a new trailer was released on Tuesday morning. Did you hear that?
I did when I was at work, and I wanted to watch it, but I think they would have frowned on that, so I waited.
I had such bad luck with the trailer this morning. I naturally woke up around like 7 a.m. I'm like, okay, let me check Twitter, see if the trailer's out. And I check it like 5 times over the next half hour as I'm like half asleep. Nothing. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to get up and I'm sure the trailer comes soon. I get up and 5 seconds later, my boyfriend Pat texts me, trailer's out. I'm like, wait, what? I've been checking. What? How? How is this possible?
I like how Pat found it
You
before
couldn't even shower.
I know, I couldn't shower. I couldn't make coffee. I had to run straight to my computer and blog about it. Oh, well. Anyway, Laura, before we get into the trailer, and there's a lot to talk about, let's get your fandom ID. How did you discover the Harry Potter series?
The school book fair, and I ran out of all my money buying book 1, and I begged my mom for $20 more so I could buy book 2, and that is how I found Harry Potter.
That is so cute.
Yes, I found it when I was in the 5th grade. I found it. So.
Are you talking about one of those classic Harry Potter, Scholastic book fairs in the library?
And my friend told me, Laura, you have to buy this book. And I bought book 1 that day, and I read book 1 that night, and I begged my mom. I'm like, I know I used all my money, but you don't understand. I need to know what happens to Harry. You really don't get it. And I have
amazing.
Yeah, and I really don't think, now I don't like, and now I think she regrets that because I have so many Harry Potter things. She's like, where are you going to put all this stuff, Laura? But she has created a monster. So.
In one breath, give us your favorite Harry Potter book, movie, Hogwarts House, Evermorning House, and in light of today's discussion, your favorite Fantastic Beasts character.
Okay, my favorite book is book 3. My favorite movie is movie 7 part 2. Hogwarts House is a Hufflepuff. Evermorning House is a Thunderbird. Favorite Fantastic Beasts character is Jacob. And is that it? Did I get them all?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I think so.
Nice.
Good job. So you saw Cursed Child recently and Puffs.
I did, and I actually saw Puffs twice because I saw it like live and in person, and then I saw it with my cousin, who has never seen it, and we were in a Harry Potter running club together, and she wanted to go see it, so I went to go see like the recording with her, and then I saw the real version by myself. But it was so fun, so awesome. So
nice. Glad to hear that. They're actually one of this week's sponsors, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would highly recommend it. It was a very, very fun show. And Cursed Child is amazing. If you have an opportunity to go see it, I highly recommend it. The special effects are awesome. The story, we all know about the story, but I really think it's a well-done show, and it's definitely worth all the Tony Awards that it got, because it was spectacular.
And you told us you might see Mary Graham Priest soon, the Harry Potter illustrator?
Yeah, she's going to be at Books of Wonder at the end of the month, which I was astonished by. So hopefully I can wind up going there because I've never seen her on tour. I didn't even know she did that. And I think Brian Selznick is going to be there too. I think they're going to have a conversation. So if anyone's in Books of Wonder, you guys should, or in New York, you guys should check out that event. I think it's the end of October.
That's an important shout out. I would not have heard of this event, surely.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's and they tend to do a lot of like young adult book events, and I go there a lot. But when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
And they had a very, very
Cool.
big presence at New York, the BookCon that I went to a year back, and we got these really cool posters of all the covers. So I'm
Okay.
excited to get maybe a book signed by Mary.
Yeah.
Grand Prix.
We actually had Mary Grand Prix on the podcast. This was back on episode 172, 2009. So,
Wow.
9 years ago.
You can ask her what she's
Yeah.
been up to all these 9 years, Laura, if you ask her a question.
I will definitely add it to my question list.
Say to her, we're twins. We both have been on MuggleCast.
Oh,
She'll be like, Muggle what? Anyway, thanks, Laura, again for your support on
No.
patreon.com/MuggleCast. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So just also wanted to mention that Eric and I attended our big trivia night party over the weekend.
Yeah.
You may remember that my team, not Eric's team, won Harry Potter trivia night in Chicago back over the summer. And shockingly, they gave us a party for 25 people, open bar for 2 hours as the prize for winning.
Yeah.
We couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So we finally redeemed that over the weekend, and it was a fun time. And I think the party ran longer than 2 hours, Eric.
Yeah, it was. Well, we were just in conversation. It was great talking to you, getting to know you. A little bit in person.
We had some
but
business to discuss.
Yeah, we discussed a little bit of business, which is an overtly vague kind of statement there. But MuggleCast listeners will figure out what that's all about soon enough in due time. But it was a good time, and I'm looking forward. God, I'm gonna see you so often. Tomorrow we're hanging out in Chicago.
I know.
Also for MuggleCast reasons. Tonight we're on this trailer talk. It's just a lot of fun times going on. So total thrilling.
And shout out to Ryan as well, one of our listeners who also he organized that trivia night to begin with. So it's because of him that we won. So
that you drank.
Definitely. Chat with chatted with him for a while too, and such a great guy.
He is. So before we get to the Fantastic Beasts trailer, let's hear about one of our sponsors this week.
Well, as we mentioned, the sponsor this week, which is Laura approved, is Puffs, a play, which is a great play happening off Broadway in New York City at New World Stages. For 7 years, a certain boy wizard went to a certain school and conquered evil. This, however, is not his story. This is the story of the Puffs, who just happened to be there too. A tale for anyone who has never been destined to save the world. So, for those of you who've heard us talk about this before, listen again. And for those of you who haven't, listen up. The critically acclaimed play Puffs gives you a new look at a familiar adventure from the perspective of 3 potential heroes just trying to make it through a magic school that proves to be very dangerous for children. Their epic journey takes the classic story to new places and reimagines what a boy wizard hero can be. I saw this play with my mom and Katie, who's been a guest on our show before, in April, and I still think back on it and laugh about certain moments and experiences in the play. I'm sure it's no different from you guys who've seen it. The play just makes an excellent use of their space at New World Stage, and I'm thrilled that it's still in New York. I guess people may have missed the opportunity to see it in Australia when it was in Australia, but it is still very much being put on New World Stages in New York. And I recommend that you bring yourself and other Harry Potter fans that you may know, because they will get a kick out of all the timely references, good use of space, like I said, staging is great, and the sense of humor. The writers are real rock stars, so I just highly recommend Puffs the Play. And for those of you who are listening, Puffs is offering a special ticket price for MuggleCast listeners. Visit puffstheplay.com/MuggleCast to learn more, and you can access the special ticket price for the New York show. Once again, puffstheplay.com/MuggleCast.
Awesome. Thank you, Puffs. So let's talk about this trailer. This is the third and final trailer for Crimes of Grindelwald. The day before it came out, J.K. Rowling had met with a bunch of social media influencers. Not us. We are not influencers. We are just podcasters. We're not hip and cool. So she meets with these influencers and she says, listen carefully in the trailer because you're going to hear a name that you're going to want to talk about. And of course, everybody flipped out. And there were a bunch of good guesses. I guessed Ariana Dumbledore. Who did everybody else guess?
Minerva. I think I guessed Minerva.
Oh, Minerva. That would have been a good one.
Micah, who did you guess?
I went with Fawkes, but I thought that your guess of Ariana was probably the best one.
Yeah.
But apparently not. It was still a beast. That was my big thing, is that it had to be a beast at the end of the day, because this is Fantastic Beasts after all. Tom Riddle was another one that a lot of people guessed, but I just think too soon. You can't bring Voldemort into the picture, even though they kind of did with Nagini, but
yeah.
I just thought that would be way, way, way too soon.
Agree. Voldemort is 3 months old. He is a baby when this film is out. If he's on anybody's radar now, it is at a detriment to the original Harry Potter series canon.
And that person's fault.
And that person's fault, yes, for not stopping somebody.
So I guess we'll start with that. That is definitely the biggest thing that we get from this trailer. There's a lot happening in the trailer. Much of it we've seen before, but yeah. So Nagini. So what happens is Credence kind of whispers Nagini, and he's whispering it at Claudia Kim, who is transforming into Nagini as we know her, the snake. So this character played by Claudia Kim, we've known she's been in this movie, but we never knew her character's name. And in fact, we actually did speculate, I think a few months ago, that she might be playing Nagini. That may have been Micah. I'm not sure, but I heard some people saying that we've brought it up.
It was an old fan theory. The promotional materials called her the Maledictus, and that was all it was. That she's somebody with a blood curse that makes her transform into a snake, like we said. And the theory was because it's a snake, well, any snake that we know, question mark.
Right.
And she might be actually in some of the materials, or maybe an old promo poster or something that's in the movie, known as the Incredible Snake Girl.
Yes.
Or something like that.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, so I seem to recall, I don't think any one of us can take credit for originating the idea.
No.
But somebody definitely reached out to us on social and was like, hey, here's a crazy, crackpot theory, which turned out to be true.
So what we also learned today is that the Maledictus, not an animagus, she is a Maledictus. A lot of people were thinking, oh, she's an animagus. No, says J.K. Rowling. She is a Maledictus, carrier of a blood curse that destines her ultimately to transform into a beast. So right now, in the timeline of Crimes of Grindelwald, she is able to switch back and forth. And that's her circus attraction, so to speak. That's her trick. But one day, and Claudia Kim described it as a ticking time bomb, she is going to transform to a snake, and there is no turning back. So there was also a poster released today for Nagini, and her tagline is "aiding a fugitive," which is interesting, and we should talk about today.
What, eating a fugitive?
Aiding.
Oh, aiding. Oh. She doesn't get to the eating people until the 90s.
Yeah,
well, that we know of.
We're not at that stage yet, Eric. Let's
eating a fugitive. Okay.
No
right.
eating in this movie.
Oh, why not? I
Eating.
wouldn't. Hey, I was just thinking. Okay, she turns into a beast. So here we go. Here's another reason why the title "Fantastic Beasts" makes sense.
Well, it would have made sense for Ariana as well, because Ariana was an obscurial by our best guesses, and that is what makes Credence a beast also, or sort of a beast. I mean, Credence is a beast, but yeah, it's just kind of, it would have made sense for us to get Ariana before anyone else, because we know that she already is sort of destined to appear in this film. If you have Dumbledore and Grindelwald in this series, it makes sense to discuss what had caused their falling out. But Nagini works too.
Laura, what do you make of all this?
I'm unlike Eric. I really like the whole Nagini thing because I think it's really interesting to see her backstory. I think it's interesting.
Wait, who says I didn't like it?
Didn't you say a long time ago? You said you didn't want that theory to come true. Am I misremembering? I might be.
No, I don't think you are. I think you're
our
probably
listeners know way more than we do, or remember way more.
It's true. It's true.
But I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a kind of a nice connection. I guess I'll I can make up my final mind when I see what it becomes later in the series. But I don't know. I think it's kind of a cool tie back. I mean, I really it's kind of like with the Fox thing. I hope we see that moment, or if that comes true. But I don't know. I like it. I think that it's definitely an interesting way to get to Nagini because she can't transform back. But I don't know. I like it. But then again, I'm really easy to please. So.
I am very curious to learn more about this because it raises a lot of questions about how Voldemort came to encounter Nagini. Prior to today, all we knew was that Voldemort discovered Nagini in a forest in Albania.
Yeah, and I think it really, for me, I just remember hearing about it this morning. I initially thought it was cool, mostly that the theory that we've been talking about and devoted so much time to talking about what if actually came true. That will never fail to excite me, regardless of how I feel about it. And then also, I remember thinking, well, now the rest of the series, storyline-wise, is pretty much, like, now we kind of have to see Voldemort meeting Nagini, because that'll be a big emotional sort of conclusion or climax to Claudia Kim's character's journey.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't, we're going to, you know, she is a character that we know what happens to them. She's destined to get her head severed from her body by Neville. Neville Longbottom is destined to kill her. So we're going to have to see, there's going to be in one of these films at least, maybe not the fifth one, but there's going to be a parting shot, which will be very significantly the last time we see her before she shows up again, you know, as in movie 4.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is maybe like when in this series does she turn? Will it be this movie and not be able to turn back, or will it be later? I guess I'm just curious of the timeline of when she turns and doesn't come back. So that's my curiosity.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's going to be really emotional because based on what we've seen from promo so far, Nagini and Credence seem to be pretty close to each other. They could possibly be developing feelings for one another, or maybe their closeness is just based on being these other creatures that they don't want to be. They're both cursed.
Poor Credence. That would be so sad.
And the other thing is that we're never going to be able to read Nagini scenes in the books or watch them the same way again. Now you might feel a little bad that Neville cut off Nagini's head.
She used to be a woman.
Oh, you could, no, I don't want to like Nagini. Oh dear.
Well, that's yeah.
And this plays into the fact that we need to know more about how Voldemort came to encounter Nagini, because how did Nagini become loyal to Voldemort?
Yeah.
And this is something a lot of people are concerned about right now. Is Voldemort controlling Nagini? Well, that's kind of weird. He's controlling a woman played by a person of color, and that's not sitting well with some people so far. So
yeah, well, the one of the few. Here's how it is, even without Voldemort in the picture. One of the few women of color, one of the few persons of color to be in these films, plays a character whose agency is taken from her.
Oh, that's true.
She, no matter what, that Voldemort doesn't even do that. It's because she's turning into a beast, presumably will not be able to think or feel or do anything the way humans do eventually. That's really unfortunate. As a character, to play a character who is kind of a victim in that way, and being victimized by a blood curse, being ravaged by a blood curse, and having your free will sort of taken away. Then comes all this Voldemort stuff. You know, was she... I think it might be less sad if she has the agency as Nagini to serve Voldemort. I think it could also come from a really sad place of maybe there's a dormant period where she runs away to Albania for decades, and then Voldemort is really the only human being that can communicate with her. That, you know, I think my Twitter mentions today, somebody was saying, you know, I would probably be willing to do a lot of questionable things for a person if that person were the only person who could speak to me and understand me.
that's a great point.
That
because
is true.
not a lot of people can speak Parseltongue.
Credence can, and that's going to end up being the nail in the, like, when you ask the question about timeline, you know, and when this is going to happen, it's going to be, we know J.K. Rowling at this point, it's going to be the period of maximum heartache, right? When Credence most needs a companion to speak to, you know, to talk him through, she's going to be a snake and he can't talk to her, and it's gonna hurt the most.
Well, I'm going to try and put a little bit of a different spin on this, because one of the things that we know that Credence has been able to do is harness his own power. He's proven it, and presumably no other Obscurus that has come before him has been able to do it. None of them have lived to this age. Wouldn't it be interesting if that is what he is able to teach Nagini to be able to do, even if it's only for a period of time, to hold off this blood curse.
I love that idea.
Oh, I like
She
that too.
doesn't
That would be awesome.
Transform, and she doesn't, lose all of her ability. Now, of course, we know that there's going to come a point where something is going to happen where she does fully transform. Maybe it's something that happens to Credence, and maybe that's sort of the tipping off point. The other part of this too is that Nagini presumably is the only thread right now that we have between these two series, right? Particularly connecting Grindelwald and Voldemort, because I'm assuming at some point she's going to side with Grindelwald. And
the Maledictus.
To connect those two dark wizards together and learn her story is going to be very, very cool to watch.
Yeah. I want a scene at some point where Nagini in human form walks by Neville's great-great-grandparents just casually, accidentally. Just for the fans. They don't have to talk, but just for the fans.
The interesting thing that happened right after this post, Andrew, you mentioned J.K. Rowling tweeted up a storm.
She did.
Afterwards. She actually, a lot of what she talked about was explaining how Maledictuses work, which is kind of important. So, I mean, it's details that aren't, like, they're so superfluous, but, like, they really help us kind of guess a little bit more. But two quick tweets I want to read here, because I think they clear up a lot of issues. Somebody asked her, would lycanthropy be a strain or branch of Maledictus, since it's a blood curse, or is it its own thing entirely? She replied, they're different conditions. Maledictuses are always women, whereas werewolves can be of either sex. The Maledictus carries a blood curse from birth, which is passed down from mother to daughter. So that's an interesting bit of knowledge that we should store in our minds for later. This could have happened to the Maledictus's mom, even. Maybe there's another snake slithering around somewhere that used to be, Claudia Kim's character's mother. I'm not 100% sure on that. And then the interesting thing is that somebody named Nina said a Maledictus is predestined to be evil. They were born that way, kind of speak. And J.K. Rowling replied, not at all. The slow transformation into a beast is beyond their control, but they aren't destined to be evil.
And that could apply to Credence as well, maybe. Just in terms of somebody being destined to be evil.
It's just she's kind of saying that this character, Nagini, especially as a human, isn't necessarily evil. Even though we know that Nagini is such a loyal follower of Voldemort's in the future, and eats his food for him, or eats...
Well, that also may go back to the point that you were raising earlier. Loyalty could be forced upon her, as opposed to her being willingly loyal.
Mm-hmm. And she might not be evil now, but she has to turn evil at some point, right? Like, whether
I actually agree with that.
Or otherwise. Because look at what she's doing in the Harry Potter books.
Well, and Voldemort trusts her with a piece of his soul. The implication being that if another person were given part of your soul, that they could presumably destroy it, and that's why it's a big trust issue. Harry is an exception to that rule, but Dumbledore, when Dumbledore and Harry have that conversation of Nagini, Voldemort's snake, they're abnormally close, you get the feeling that somebody wouldn't be abnormally close to Voldemort if they weren't into him. Mm-hmm. But that's exactly why this revelation is so problematic, is, will she lose her agency, or will her character motivations be such a way that not just Grindelwald, but Voldemort is the only way for her? That will she be so either scorned by the events of these films that she really seeks Voldemort out, or she's really opened up a can of worms in terms of, saying Nagini's not, or Maledictuses are not evil necessarily, by kind of having to show us now a Maledictus that is not evil.
Another thing that J.K. Rowling said on Twitter was, so somebody tweeted her, "How long have you been holding that Nagini secret?" And J.K. Rowling said, "Only for around 20 years." Now, I have to ask, do we believe that J.K. Rowling has truly had this in her head or on a Post-it note?
No.
Yeah, I don't believe it either.
I don't. Well, because technically, if she's had this secret all this time, then she knew that technically Nagini was a human, right? At some point. So technically Nagini would have two souls, like Harry was. So I don't know. I think that that's the thing that's tricking me up. Because technically Nagini would be kind of like Harry, in a sense. Because they both have souls.
Interesting.
I mean, unless that's not right, and maybe I got it wrong.
Well, I could see J.K. Rowling somehow walking around that.
I'm sure she could.
I can see. I tend to believe her. I tend to. I really do actually believe, but plenty of people are skeptical, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But
unless she pulls out a piece of parchment with this written on it, from 1999, then
a napkin from the Elephant House. Yeah.
No, I think really what it is, Eric, is she said to herself, after all these years, she didn't escape from the zoo. She escaped from the circus.
Yeah, people really. It's unfortunate that her character now is in some form of captivity, and that she's destined for sort of an eternal life of captivity. That's also a very unfortunate tragedy to befall any character in a movie series written by J.K. Rowling.
The zoo thing that resurfaced today because a lot of people thought that was Nagini in the zoo scene in the first book through the glass case that Harry talks to. And J.K. Rowling says, no, I thought I put this to bed a while ago. That was not Nagini in the zoo. Everybody was like, but wait a second, Nagini's in the zoo.
She answered this on her old website. She figured, and it was a boy boa constrictor, and it was not Nagini. She said
why everybody believed it? It was one of those stupid Facebook memes that you see.
Yeah.
Crazy Harry Potter fan theory revealed. That was Nagini behind the glass at the zoo. Then everybody's minds was blown because it was like, oh my God, classic J.K. Rowling foreshadowing.
Exactly.
It would also call into question why Dumbledore would not have maybe recognized Nagini at all.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a big... J.K. Rowling made this bed. She's got to lay in it in terms of, now, tell a thrilling narrative, I dare you. Tell a thrilling narrative that will allow the series of circumstances that will allow Dumbledore to never interact with Nagini. Either
because
as a person
he
or a
wouldn't
snake.
be able to, because then he'd know.
Exactly.
Huh. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, now that she's laying sort of traps for herself, she could create plot holes by all of these characters being interwoven. I'm not worried. I mean, J.K. Rowling does this for a living, guys. But I think that I will be ready to pounce and extremely dissatisfied the second that there's like some major scene between Dumbledore and Nagini, and then later in the Harry Potter books he doesn't recognize her.
I can't necessarily see why Dumbledore and Nagini would be face to face in this film series as things stand right now. However, you have to think that Dumbledore, thanks to the events of this film, would at least be aware of her. Micah, can you imagine, do you have in mind a situation in the Harry Potter books where he would have made that connection but didn't?
It's hard to even think about that right now because I don't know that there was ever a moment that the two of them would have crossed paths. He may have just be aware of the fact that Nagini exists, but not have the context as to who she is.
I mean, if somebody so much as mentions her name in front of them,
and
that's kind of a problem, right?
By the way, I was saying to Laura before recording, isn't it weird to say Nagini and refer to a human? Because for the past 15 years, we've been thinking of Nagini as an animal. So every time I say Nagini, I'm thinking about a snake, but I'm like, oh, wait a second, I'm referring to a human now. Even this poster, I look at this poster and it says Nagini and it's got a human. I'm like, whoa, my mind is being bent.
And as far as them interacting in the Fantastic Beasts film, one thing that kind of tripped my mind a bit was I was looking at the trailer. If you go to 2 minutes and 1 second, there's a host of characters. And it very much looks like, despite what Eddie Redmayne said in interviews, that they're on the bridge leading into Hogwarts. But I'm assuming that it's the amphitheater, which may have been designed in much the same way. But I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at that. It's a shot of, I think it's Newt, Nagini, Jacob, and a few others. And I think they're about to go somewhere. Where that is, though, it does look very much like Hogwarts.
Theseus
goes-
and
Jacob goes to Hogwarts?
Kind of.
question.
That is
But
that,
Nagini,
that blows
yeah.
my mind. That is oh my god, Jacob gets to go to Hogwarts.
Maybe.
Oh my god. Maybe.
This, to
That'd be
me,
great.
this particular shot, I agree. It looks like that bridge in Deathly Hallows Part 2 at the end where Harry throws the Elder Wand over the ledge. But to me, it looks like a morning after scene because Nagini is wearing like a coat over her, which kind of implies that it's cold, maybe like a cold morning. Newt just kind of looks disheveled. Everybody looks tired and worried. It just looks like something you would see at the very end of the movie after some battle or something.
Well, if that's true, then Theseus might survive this film.
Yeah.
Which I think is still a huge question. Huge question.
But also worth noting is that Queenie is not in this scene. Again and again, we do not see Queenie with other characters.
Credence is not either.
No. Well, he's turned into a wisp again, and he's flying somewhere. He's flying to the setting of the third movie. So, another question I had about Nagini was, she's at the circus. If she knows she has this blood curse, and she does know it, why is she spending her remaining years in the circus? Like, don't you want to go do something a little more fun? Live your life a little bit more? It seems a little strange to be hanging out at the circus right before you're permanently turning into an evil snake.
Depending on where she's at in her life in terms of accepting it, maybe she feels like an outcast, so she's with other outcasts, or I mean, I think in certain ways, she would have had to have been raised to understand what her deal is, like what her future is.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope. And wizards on a whole are sort of free from some of the same constraints we would have. Like, we can't just like go and rough it without some skills, but if you have a little bit of magic, you can do shelter and food and like the basic human needs. So I would say she could kind of run off if she wanted to and live in the countryside and do human stuff for a while. Right. But maybe that's why she's where she is.
I wouldn't assume she's there necessarily by choice. If we look at some of the other beasts that have been shown, they've looked like they've been in captivity, right? The one that was in shackles. Yeah. There's a bunch that are kept in cages. This Skender guy doesn't seem like he treats people and beasts very humanely. So
she could be blackmailed.
I wouldn't assume that she's there by choice, or maybe it's just the fact that this is one of the only jobs that she can find, and you know, she's able to use what she's going through as a means to an end.
Yeah.
I always thought that she was like that. All those all those people in the circus, that they were like held hostage. Maybe that was my own headcanon. But I always assumed that they were there against their will.
That could be.
I don't know. That was what I thought. So.
Well, Jake, the Davids. Actually, I mean, a lot of our going back and reading some of these interviews that have come out over the last couple months. Would really change, I think, a lot, or we could do with a relook, but they've talked about Skender before, and I don't yet know that we've even seen his face in a trailer, but this is a guy who's got his character arc his character identity is pretty much laid out. He's not a good guy, and the interviews have all talked about how not a good guy Skender is, and how he probably blackmailed the Maledictus into being there. Like, I 100% believe that based on former interviews. The interviews also say that the worlds are colliding with this movie, and that this movie will really, in no small way, bring the two series together. And I think now we know why.
I have a crazy theory. Could he have sold Nagini to Voldemort?
Well, Voldemort's 3 months old.
Well, no,
later.
I mean, like later, like in the future.
I don't know.
I don't know. Just a crazy thought.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
that's
I mean,
how.
Nagini could be in captivity for decades potentially.
Yeah.
But
that's so problematic.
Yeah, it is problematic. But also, as far as we know, Voldemort found her in a forest, right? So maybe not.
True.
Or
maybe not. All right.
So let's leave it at that for now on Nagini.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing, which is that if J.K. Rowling did know 20 years ago, I'm not surprised that she didn't put it in Harry Potter. Because I think it would have muddied the waters a little bit, or muddled the whole thing up a little bit more than it needed to be in terms of the bad guys and the good guys. J.K. Rowling made good efforts to show gray areas with characters like Snape or maybe Umbridge, but really the series was limited to the story that needed to be told, and I'm okay with this never coming up. I would still believe that J.K. Rowling knew it in the back of her mind, even though it never came up. But the challenge now is going to be to write stories in such a way that it doesn't remove this character of everything she's got going and is not, as problematic.
Yeah.
She needs to fix it.
I don't think people are saying that it should have been in the Harry Potter books, because obviously over the years, she developed a lot of information for the series that she just couldn't fit in. And that's one reason she said that she would one day create an encyclopedia. But I think the question is, like, how much did she know? If it's true, she had some parts of this in her head 2 decades ago. What parts were those? Like, was it just that Nagini used to be human? Is that it? That has to be it, right?
Yeah. I that's what I think. I don't think it could be anything more than that. There's no way that this entire Fantastic Beasts backstory was written 20 years ago with, and like I said, unless she pulls out the pen and paper and proves that this was all written down somewhere, I just have a hard time believing. But then again, this is J.K. Rowling, so anything is possible.
I think something like Nagini used to be a human. That could have been in her head. I think the larger Dumbledore Grindelwald story could have been in her head. Somewhat detailed. The Newt stuff that we're seeing right now with him and his friends, no.
Yeah.
Just broad strokes. And fun character tidbits. It's funny how, like, quickly she was to, like, start talking about this, but we're still wondering about, like, Voldemort and Bellatrix. She's yet to comment on that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, this is a different...
Different what?
A couple of other tweets.
We none of us have paid to see this movie yet, and we're already learning a ton about it. Meanwhile, let's keep the secrets about Bellatrix and Voldemort.
Well, you want to talk about keep the secrets, Cursed Child. Somebody brought up that in the Cursed Child, Astoria Malfoy, it has a blood curse. She dies from having a blood curse.
Yes.
And so maybe Credence and the Maledictus are her parents or grandparents.
Could be, but I don't know. Then the question is, was the blood curse in Cursed Child written by J.K. Rowling, or was that written by Jack Thorne? Who knows?
True.
I don't know.
So we have more to get to in this trailer, but how about first we hear from our next sponsor, Mike? Are you able to do that now?
Of course, Andrew. I think we need to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yes. Whew, I need a break.
Too intense. Too intense. But today's episode is also brought to you by Bombas. And Bombas is totally re-engineered socks with comfort innovations that add up to one way more comfortable pair of socks. 2 years of research and development led to multiple improvements of the sock design, performance, and comfort, including an arch support system that provides extra support where you need it most and feels like a hug around your foot, a cushioned footbed, stay-up technology, and super soft cotton. They honestly feel like your feet just got a massage. And whatever you love to do, there's a pair of Bombas that'll add comfort to your life as you do it. They were created for runners, power walkers, podcasters, wizards, and overall lovers of everyday comfort. Now, I've worn several pairs of Bombas to work, and it's amazing how comfortable they are compared to normal dress socks. They don't fall down all the time either. Your feet feel comfortable all day long, and they have some really great designs for listeners to choose from. But I'd say the part that I love the most about Bombas is that for every pair purchased, one is donated. So I just wanted to ask you guys, did you know that socks are the #1 most requested item in homeless shelters?
No.
I believe it.
So that's why Bombas donates one brand new pair of socks for every pair they sell. To date, they've donated more than 9 million pairs of socks.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
So by taking advantage of this offer, you're also helping a great cause. MuggleCast listeners get 20% off their first order. All you have to do is head on over to bombas.com/MuggleCast. That's BOMBAS.com, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Just use code MuggleCast.
I love mine too. They are super comfortable.
I gotta get a pair.
Yeah. Eric, you can borrow a pair of mine.
Oh,
Give you some
thanks
fresh
for
ones.
sharing socks.
Sharing
Socks remind me of the Mirror of Erised, and
Yes.
we got some of that in this trailer.
Wow, what a transition. Yeah, so another big revelation in this third and final Crimes of Grindelwald trailer is that Jamie Campbell Bower and Toby Regbo are back as young Grindelwald and young Dumbledore. So
young.
Well, because we got young Dumbledore, so we
Yeah, it's
also
Jude Law.
gotta differentiate. We got young.
I love it.
So these two played the same characters in the Harry Potter movies. You probably remember Jamie Campbell Bower playing Grindelwald because he was in a couple of flashbacks, but Toby Regbo and Jamie Campbell Bower were in a photo together. And I guess it was one of the Deathly Hallows movies.
Yeah, in 7. It was in 7.
As Dumbledore and Grindelwald. So it's pretty cool that they invited them back to do these scenes, and this seems to be the same exact scene where Jude Law and Johnny Depp's Dumbledore and Grindelwald's are looking into the Mirror of Erised, but there's these quick flashes of their younger selves.
Well, and I love that we talked about this when we got the first Mirror of Erised in the trailer. I don't know if that was trailer 2 or trailer 1. I'm forgetting at this point. Where last we saw the first part of this. This is more of like an extended scene. We asked the question, well, wouldn't Dumbledore see Grindelwald when he was younger and actually more attractive, not this ugly, older Johnny Depp? But it looks now like there's going to be some kind of a throwback flashback, because the shot in this movie that shows that these young actors are back is also them looking in the mirror. So I think maybe they'll go between, maybe there will be even like some dialogue between their past and future selves or something with Dumbledore. But I think it's cool as hell that they are cast the same actors again. I love it. And hopefully this time throughout the next couple films, they'll be able to actually do some acting.
Yes. So hopefully we'll finally get that scene, that fight involving Ariana. I think this sets that up, because we know these two are game to come back, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I love how they both look as Grindelwald and Dumbledore. And now they'll appear in future films, and more casual moviegoers will be like, oh yeah, I remember them from Crimes of Grindelwald. And now we understand why they are trying to reach at each other through the mirror.
I think we're definitely going to see that moment though with Ariana and that fight. I mean, now I think it's pretty obvious, but I think hopefully we'll see that in future movies, because I think that scene would be really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll get the same actors who played her portrait in the.
I mean, let's hope so. Like, if I'm invited to do a Harry Potter movie, I'm probably not going to say no. Like, I don't know if these two really have active acting careers anymore, but like, I would answer that call and say, hell yeah, I'm coming back.
Yeah. Well, I actually will answer that question. Toby Regbo, somebody was telling me today, he was on the show Reign, the series Reign, which is fairly popular. He played the King of France for a while. And Jamie Campbell Bower is much more well-known on our side of the pond, but both are active actors. You know the funny story? There's actually, these two attended a gay pride party at the end of June together. If you look back, one of our patrons, Mark Newt, posted this. There's a photo on a red carpet of a gay pride fest, and they're there together, and it is a beautiful thing. Side eye, nod, wink, wink kind of thing for the actors who play Dumbledore and Grindelwald to be together at this kind of an event. And they must have been.
Why are they attending a gay event together? Toby Regbo's wearing a rainbow shirt that says "Choose Love." I'm in love.
This shows that they probably know each other better now and have just been on set together. No, I'm saying I'm saying that.
I know. I'm being immature.
This shows that, they have a professional relationship again. I just love that there is that one, and it's not who you'd expect, like the actor who came back, to do both series. This is as big a bridge of the two series, having the same actor play the same role in both series, as the Maledictus Nagini reveal. I think it works on several levels. So I'm thrilled that they weren't too old at this point. It has been 10 or 11 or 12 years since the final Harry Potter film filmed, and that they can get Jamie Campbell Bower to still play young Grindelwald, that he's still what they want in the role, is important and impressive.
So do you guys think that now we've had these scenes that it's possible that the Dumbledore Grindelwald thing will become more explicit as the movies go on? Because they said that it wasn't going to happen now, but now I'm kind of convinced that it is.
So during J.K. Rowling's tweet storm today, she said, somebody asked J.K. Rowling, are we going to know more about Grindelwald and Dumbledore's past in this film or in the next ones? And J.K. Rowling said some in this movie, more in the rest. So, yeah, we are going to hear more. Laura?
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
And I think the groundwork outside of, obviously, this scene is being laid in the fact that this line that we've heard trailer after trailer, that Dumbledore cannot move against Grindelwald, I'm more and more convinced it has to do with their relationship and something that happened between the two of them that is causing him. I don't know if it's magic specific or if it's emotion related, but I think that is also going to be part of what plays out moving forward.
Yeah. For what it's worth, we haven't talked about these, and we might not have time to today, but a bunch of Crimes of Grindelwald character posters came out the day before the trailer, and Dumbledore's says, his tagline says, under surveillance. So that could maybe play into the whole I can't move on him, maybe because people are watching me. But yeah, Micah, I hope you're right.
Yeah,
that's what I don't understand, though. He's under surveillance, but don't they want Grindelwald to be caught?
And he's Dumbledore. Like, surveillance doesn't work on him in book 5 or in book 6.
Right. So who's monitoring him? Maybe it's not the Ministry. We're kind of assuming it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's an excuse. I think that he can't move on Grindelwald has to be related to, like, an unbreakable vow or something, ridiculously complicated stemming from the past, like you guys are saying.
Ooh, I love that. I love the
his sister was killed. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying I like that if maybe he's maybe he made an unbreakable vow that I won't try to, do something to you or try to interfere or something. That would be
That's pretty much like a wedding vow, like
yeah,
cherish and hold, and he can't move against Grindelwald.
Jazzy, who's listening live on Patreon, she brings up a good point. Maybe one of the times when Grindelwald was caught, he implicated Dumbledore, and that's why he's under surveillance.
That could be fun.
Dumbledore did it too.
That makes
He
sense.
did.
Okay.
It was even Dumbledore's idea. Oh God, all he has to say is it was Dumbledore's idea. And the fun thing about that, though, honestly, the fun thing is, once Dumbledore does rise up and defeat Grindelwald, these bygones will be bygones. Like, people in the future may not remember, and Rita Skeeter has to unearth the idea that Grindelwald and Dumbledore were friends, but maybe many more people in this day and age can openly be aware of the idea that they knew each other and were friends. And I think he'd ultimately tell Newt as such.
And maybe that's why he's under surveillance, is because of their close relationship.
Yeah.
I think we've solved it, guys. I think we solved it. But related, on Twitter, again, J.K. Rowling, Tommy, said to her, wait, so even experienced Aurors can't take Grindelwald down, but Dumbledore expects a magizoologist who got expelled from Hogwarts to do it? And she replies, I could write you an essay in response to this, but it would give you the whole plot of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, so not going to... ... The reasons, and as we watch this trailer, it'll also, this will be a question, according to J.K. Rowling, that we're asking this whole time. Why not only can Dumbledore not move against Grindelwald, but why does he trust Newt to do it? Why does it have to be Newt, or why does he want it to be Newt? And I think she said somewhere else today, although I won't find it because it'll take too long, that really these next 5 films are going to bring you the idea that she said in that tweet, that the reasons why he chooses Newt or is working with Newt and expects that Newt can do it would give away the plot of all 5 films, then maybe there is just more to it. I think we're just being asked to be patient about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about some other elements in this trailer. The trailer opens up with some... Well, actually, no, it doesn't open up with the Grindelwald remarks. It opens up with Dumbledore offering Newt a safe house in France. Now, somebody pointed out, and I'm sorry, it might be somebody in the chat. I can't remember where I read this, but somebody pointed out...
It's in the notes.
Oh.
I put it in the notes.
That's where. Micah, what do you think's going on in this scene?
I'm guessing that the safe house belongs to Nicholas Flamel.
Same.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense to me.
The way that he says, like, cup of tea or something implies that it's somebody lives there and will make you that tea.
And that person is very old and is very smart. So after that, we get some good lines from Grindelwald. He wants to free all wizards, take them out of hiding. He says, join me or die. And he kind of delivers it that way. Johnny Depp, I got to be honest, he's really growing on me. I like his wand work in the trailers. I like the way he plays the character. I still find him a little offensive to look at, but I think he plays a very confident wizard.
I have to agree. And I don't want to agree, but I have to agree. I think he's playing the character very, very well.
These lines are the ones that he opened with at Comic-Con, at San Diego Comic-Con. The whole brothers and sisters thing. His speech is presumably a pretty big speech that he gives in this film.
Yeah.
And the sort of transition scene of him being led out of the jail and then breaking out, I thought, from what we've been able to get a glimpse of so far, looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's standing out of the carriage as it's in flight in the deep rain, and honestly, the first 45 seconds to a minute of this trailer are Grindelwald in tons of scenes in action, really.
Yeah, and he looks good in all of them. Like I said, I think his wand work is pretty darn impressive. So I am looking forward to seeing him in an expanded role. We only got a very brief glimpse of him in the first movie. So a couple moments later, we get some interesting insight into Newt. He says that he doesn't pick sides. And he says that when he's speaking to his brother, and his brother's like, well, what the hell? You got to pick a side. And Dumbledore says a moment later that he admires Newt because Newt only wants to do what is good, what is right. So first of all, this whole I don't pick sides thing. I mean, come on. You sound like Donald Trump here. There are good people on both sides. No, you got to pick a side, Newt. You can't always be the good guy, the guy walking the line.
I don't know that this characterization is consistent with what we know about him from the first Fantastic Beasts film. When Graves is interrogating Newt, Newt has a pretty clear alignment, and it is against the whole... He even scoffs at for the greater good. He scoffs at what Grindelwald is doing to people around the globe, and he tells Graves as much, or Grindelwald, right to his face. So I don't think Grindelwald has any concerns about whether Newt will be malleable or turning to his side anytime soon. I think he already knows it's a lost cause. And we as the audience, I'm just surprised by this this comment that Newt himself makes. I don't pick sides. Yes, you do, Newt. Like, you absolutely do.
Maybe he doesn't like picking sides, though.
Yeah. Reluctant hero type thing.
Yeah, but is it just to be the reluctant hero, or is it because sides divide more than bring together? I mean, here's a man who is psychologically competing with people, trying to get people not to kill these tons of beasts that are out there in the world. I don't know. It's just, he maybe doesn't just want to deal with people at all. That's why he turns to beasts. Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think Newt's very comfortable dealing with people. So I think any single time he has to make any choices about humans, I think he becomes very, very introverted. So I don't think he likes making choices, period.
Yeah. We also get a couple new shots of Hogwarts. Nothing super exciting, considering we've already seen it a couple times. But there is this nice little shot of students walking outside of Hogwarts Castle, and what's that in the background? It's the Quidditch pitch and some practicing going on. I thought it was really nice that Quidditch is going to make a little bit of a cameo, especially because one critique of the movies has always been that we didn't get enough Quidditch, at least not as much as we saw in the books. So this is kind of like a bone.
You know, they're setting it up for Quidditch Through the Ages, the spin-off series.
Keep dreaming.
I will keep dreaming, you guys. Quidditch is back on film. You know what that means? They had to hire actors, dress them up in Quidditch gear, do the CGI. You mean to tell me that?
They had to do a very little amount of that. You're acting like it was a whole big thing. Like, it was probably mostly CGI. They made not
don't presume just because they're 1 inch tall or 1 centimeter tall on the screen that they didn't have to do a full body, recreation of the. I'm super hopeful, and I'm pretty sure that a Quidditch Through the Ages film will be released in one of these off years.
You heard it. Off years. Oh my gosh. No. Yeah. This is so off.
It's going to be like Star Wars tried to do with the Star Wars story. They're going to do with Quidditch Through the Ages. It's going to be the offbeat of Fantastic Beasts.
Look, this was probably on the cutting room floor from Order of the Phoenix.
I hate
that you're right. I hate that you're probably very right.
I did notice the Quidditch pitch looks like it does in the first movie. It doesn't look like it was in the later movies. It looks a little more colorful.
Yep.
Hey
Happier
guys,
times at Hogwarts.
At 1:03, Micah, did you see this? You're going to love this.
Yes, I was going to just talk about that.
Oh, then do it.
No. Well, okay, because it's actually a sequence I wanted to talk about from about 103 to 106. There's these very rapid scenes that happen, and I think there's probably some importance in there somewhere. At 103, it starts out with Tina actually in the sewers in front of that big family tree we've talked a lot about. And I'm starting to think that this is Credence's hideout, especially now that we've learned that he's kind of on the run. He's trying to learn more about his family. Seems like a place that he would hide out. We also saw in previous trailers Yusuf, or who we think is Yusuf, standing in front of this tree. So now we actually see Tina in front of it, and it looks like Newt kind of walks in on her.
Yeah.
Oh, because she stands up and quickly puts something down in the next shot.
But you see Newt off to the right.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Walking in. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that? I thought that was
Presumably.
her the whole time.
No.
Oh,
I mean-
so it's Newt down there. It's not Tina. Immediately, it's Newt, and then the next shot is her there in front of the writing. So both of those characters are now here. So Yusuf, Tina, and Newt at different times or the same time are hanging around looking at his research.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing Lita Lestrange's name up behind Tina.
Yeah.
I'm also seeing Credence Barebone and Corvus Lestrange right above Credence.
There you go.
Right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time talking about those names. They're much, much clearer in this trailer than they were
Yes.
in the previous one. But moving on.
Whoa, I'm
just
also
these-
seeing Kevin Steck written on the wall here. What does that
Oh, yeah.
mean?
He hacked the trailer.
He did the
Jamie
special effects
Lawrence?
for the. Oh yeah, look, we're on these walls here. We may not be influencers, but I'll be damned if we're not giving some
we're on the
tribute
wall.
somehow. This reminds me of
Uh-huh.
how you're in. Is it the Hunger Games? No, Divergent. How your
Yes.
name is because of the
Andrew
fan
S.
campaign
I
for the
beat Tress. It was very exciting.
yeah.
What were we going to say, Micah?
But at 104, we see we got a shot of this. I think it was in the last trailer, but this is much more expansive of all these buildings that are being draped in this black kind of fabric. It almost looks like. Do you
Yeah.
see it?
Yeah. So we had an idea about this, and you can see the Eiffel Tower in the background, by the way.
Oh,
I'm
God.
forgetting what the theory was, though. Some beast, right? That can drape things or something like that?
What, a lethifold, maybe? A
Oh,
lethifold?
yes. That was
These are-
it.
These are too big. These are too. It might just be
Yeah.
Grindelwald's thing that it's like they look like death shrouds almost. It's not happy. They don't necessarily look like beasts even. But they are capable of moving. Maybe they're bewitched to move independently. I don't know what they're doing, spiraling up into the sky at 105.
Or it could be like a vision, because there's another scene with Newt, and I'm forgetting the time code, but he's surrounded. Oh, it's 140, and the camera is kind of circling around him for a split second, and he looks like the buildings around him are in ruins. And I saw some speculation that that was a vision being pushed by Grindelwald, getting into Newt's brain or something like that.
Oh my God! There's like airplanes coming by and shooting. This is like a world war going on in this.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be reality to me.
No, it definitely looks like it would be the way that you would shoot a vision. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And then just after that, there's this shot of Queenie touching a piece of fabric, but it looks like there's a bird symbol on it. And I was wondering what that bird is.
Augury? No, it wouldn't be the augury.
Evil Queenie. And then it just wraps up right after that with Nicholas Flamel looking completely and utterly bewildered. And it looks like he may join the fight.
I mean, it's cool to have a guy who's immortal on your side.
But what's interesting is that, okay, so he's talking to Nagini, or he's like, I don't know, it looks like Nagini is trying to convince him to maybe not go towards Grindelwald or something like that. So I don't know if it's clear whose side Credence is on in this particular shot.
Well, not Credence, Nicholas Flamel.
Oh, sorry. Never mind then.
Bit of an age gap.
Yes.
I gotta say, in general, what stood out to me, like, first impressions, was that the effects in this trailer, maybe because they're the most complete, but maybe also just because it's gonna be good for this movie, these are some of the best effects we've seen in Harry Potter.
Yeah, well, look, special effects have advanced over the past decade since the last Harry Potter films were hitting the big screen. So there's that. I would assume Warner Brothers is probably putting some more money into these because they can't take these for granted as much as they did the Harry Potter films. Not to say that they were being cheap with the budgets on Harry Potter, but they know they have to visually pull off some really impressive effects to sell these movies because they can't necessarily lean on books this time.
That's a really good point. But I'm looking at this flooding that takes place. Like, I don't know if they're at the Ministry at like 1:14, and then the very next scene, Tina and Newt, it looks like, oh, they do meet up, are actually
I thought
running.
that was Newt's apartment at 1:14.
Oh.
I don't think it's one of those quick scene changes.
Oh, is that Bunty? That's probably Bunty.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's the back of Bunty's head. Bunty's the girl who's in love with Newt, everybody.
The assistant.
Oh.
The stairs look... You're right, Micah, that the stairs. But these sets are designed to do that. Like, the very fact that these are written as movies is like... J.K. Rowling has like more of an ability to like deliberately write stuff that they then have to go and put like on I don't know, the scope is grander somehow.
Yeah. Overall, I was really happy with this trailer. I thought it was more focused than the last trailer.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I loved the big revelation. It's actually kind of interesting that they decided to release that before the movie comes out. So I think we spoke a couple of weeks ago about J.K. Rowling teasing on Twitter that you don't even know half of the things that are coming in this movie. Like, Are there going to be more big revelations like that? Let's hope so.
But I totally agree. I mean, there's some really great moments in this trailer that we didn't even touch on. The Portkey moment was great. I wonder if that guy just stands there all the time on that side of the hill and they just... people randomly stop by to transport to wherever they're going.
That's another job. We were wondering about jobs in the wizarding world that pays 10 sickles an hour.
This guy looks like a Weasley. He's got a little bit of a ginger beard.
And there's also a new creature at 1 minute 27 seconds. I'm not sure what that is.
I think that might be the creature that they have for the Comic-Con exclusives. I could be wrong. I don't know what the name of it was, but it looked very similar to the Funko prototype that I saw. But I don't know the name of it.
Kind of looks like Groot.
I was just going to say that.
It does look a little bit like Groot.
He looks like a tree. He's brown.
Yes.
He looks rooty.
or like a bug who is oozing, like an oozing bug. It's either tree sap or some kind of... Very weird that it would be circling in the middle of the street of Paris. I wonder if Newt's case gets opened again, you guys.
Oh, again?
Marvel Wizarding World crossover confirmed.
Yeah.
I was also very happy to see Pickett again because I love Pickett.
Yeah.
The little green guy. I like him.
I know Pickett. Pickett is
He
Right.
makes a pretty big cameo on Newt's character poster, kind of sticking out of Newt's collar, which was cute.
I just picked myself up a Pickett Funko, which I was very happy about. He's currently
Nice.
sitting next to Newt on my bookshelf.
Aw.
The Maledictus is somebody reaches through a wall and grabs her at 1:31, and just before that, somebody like walks into a wall and becomes one with the wall. Very weird, but like also very promising. Just different styles of magic, things that we're not used to, and that's kind of one of the big selling points of the film series for me with Fantastic Beasts is because they're adults doing magic, you're going to see new stuff. You're going to see some of that stuff that Dumbledore was talking about in the cave with the weird, like, feeling the air or tasting or smelling, using your other senses, not just your words, to do magic is going to be one of the big selling points for me.
Yeah.
Definitely. And right after that, probably my favorite moment of the trailer was Newt kind of dangling a little tchotchke off the end of his wand, and it somewhat tames the Zulu.
I have it paused on
He
his eyes.
kind of like cocks his head and like looks like a puppy would, and is like, instead of being this terrifying beast that's destroying the streets of Paris, he kind of calms down, and that's Newt, man.
That is Newt, man.
And yeah. Well, that might be a good point to end it on. This has been a very full show with lots of analysis. Thanks everybody who's been joining us live. We'll be back next week with more thoughts, but we will also resume chapter by chapter. We're going through Half-Blood Prince currently, having a lot of fun with that, with some new segments. And, in addition to chapter by chapter, we're talking about the latest Harry Potter news. And I'm sure some more stuff will come out in the days between when this episode is released and when we do our next episode. We didn't really get to feedback from our listeners because we had so much to say. We will try to get to that in our next episode.
Jeez. We're so selfish.
Well, it's just a lot to talk about.
Mailbag, we used to do entire mailbag episodes.
Yeah.
It can be.
I am confident that we missed many a thing in this trailer. So listeners, definitely tweet at us and let us know, and we'll talk about it on the next episode.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and a lot of people have been joining us live on Patreon tonight, so thank you to everybody who has been joining us there. We really appreciate your support over at patreon.com/MuggleCast. You can join us there and have early access to the episodes. You can tune into our live streams, and you can sound off as we're recording. We incorporated some feedback as we were talking today, so thanks everybody who joined us. And speaking of people who joined us, Laura, thanks for joining us today. It was wonderful to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
Good. Yeah, and you did great, and we loved hearing your thoughts.
Thank you.
And it sounds like you're knee-deep in fandom over there in New York.
Oh, yes. I'm very excited. It's definitely taken over my life, but in a very, very good way. So,
yeah, of course.
You mentioned you were cosplaying. Are you doing anything in particular?
Yeah, I'm going to go as the Marauders map one day. I tried to go as Hermione from the final battle, but the Javits Center is so hot, so my costume might not work this year, but I am going as 11 from Stranger Things. So.
Oh, that's going to be great. With the Marauders map?
Yeah, I have a dress from Hot Topic that is of the Marauders map, and I go as it every year. And it is like the coolest costume, and I get the most compliments about it. It's literally just a dress from Hot Topic, but it is very, very popular.
I have a mug. Yeah, I have a mug that changes colors. It's pretty cool.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Of the Marauders map, yeah.
All right. Let's see. What else do we want to...
I love how Quizzage takes the week off when we don't do chapter by chapter. Like, there's no other trivia questions out there to ask.
There's no other trivia questions.
What is the name of the Maledictus in the Fantastic Beasts film series?
Oh, I don't want to I actually don't want to clog up our mentions with easy questions. Actually, I may have screwed up the quizzes question last week, so I'm just not confident in my abilities anymore. But as a reminder, if you can answer this question, you absolutely should. Who is in the first train compartment that the trio run into on the Hogwarts Express? I was reading the books when I made this question, so I don't think it's that wrong, but we'll see. We'll just see. Next week, stay tuned. And also, your Dancing with the Stars update here. I plan to do it sooner in the show, but this is just where it lands.
No, I think it's fine right here.
Ivana and Keo. I've got so many statistics I researched now. Ivana and Keo are going on to week 2.
Good.
The head host, Len, gave them a 5 out of 10. And he is now the host that shall not be named, that jerk. But they get a 5, a 6, and a 7, which is okay, not great. And they were declared safe on tonight. I actually didn't realize what a commitment this would be. Dancing with the Stars airs twice in a week. Twice.
Yeah, reality TV, man.
Yeah.
It eats up half your life. Big Brother's on like
insane.
4 nights a week. It's insane.
Oh, but Monday nights, everybody, right around 8 p.m., I want you to call a number for me.
1-218-20-MAGIC.
Oh, no, that's not the voting line. Ivana and Keo's line is 1-800-868-3405, and you can call up to 13 times to vote for Ivana and Keo. So even if you're not watching along, which, what are you doing with yourself if you're not? Vote for Ivana and Keo. I want to see them go further than Keo's gotten in a while. And
is it the same number every week, though?
It's their dedicated number until they get eliminated.
Okay.
And
I thought she was great last night. I watched it.
Oh,
nice.
Did they do You Believe in Magic by the Hollies? Was that their song?
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been awesome.
A little on the nose.
And they also asked her how many Hogwarts references, Potter references, are they allowed, or have they already reached their limit? In the first episode of the season, she said it doesn't bother her at all. She uses them all the time.
Yeah, Yvonne is lying. She wants to move on from Harry Potter. She doesn't need references every other sentence to the movie she did years ago. You know what I mean? Like, I know she's proud of her work, but she doesn't want to be that Harry Potter girl. Who does as an actor?
Well, she's one of the few people who hasn't said that yet, but I will say that if we vote for her and she wins Dancing with the Stars, then she'll be known for that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she would give us $20. Like part of her winnings.
Yeah, well, we can ask.
More than $20.
Well, she's got to split it between a lot of people.
But one other thing I did want to say before we wrap up, because I think it was released since our last episode was Lethal White, right?
Yes. I started reading it.
I did too.
Is it good?
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, I'm only 3 chapters in, plus the prologue, but
yeah.
I desperately have to go to Barnes & Noble, so hopefully next week. That's my plan.
Non-spoilery, I'm really liking the mystery so far and how it's sort of slowly unfurling. I like it.
Cool. Very good.
Not there yet.
No spoilers. But are you liking it so far, Micah?
Yeah. There was initial payoff to what happened at the end of the last book. It actually happened a lot more quickly than I thought it would. And I'm just shocked. Like, I forget this book is comparable lengthwise to Goblet of Fire almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
If not, it's just like this book is huge, and I open it up and I read it, and I'm like, wow, these pages are not like Harry Potter where it's kind of easy reading and you can work your way through it. It's like there's a lot of written text in this book.
There is. The font's smaller than the Harry Potter books. I think.
Is that what it is?
I think that's part of it.
Feel better?
Well, I'm thinking, I said I would get the Kindle version as well. I haven't done that yet, but I think I'm going to because I'm holding up this book and I feel like I'm working out. Holding like 10-pound weights in each hand. It's a lot.
And the covers don't match. I'm very upset.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing.
I'm not very happy.
Because this one's inverted. This one is lethally white.
I know, but now my covers don't match. I'm very upset. But it's
now you got to go buy the new covers.
Ugh.
Because they re-released them.
Oh, another
did they?
to buy.
They did.
Oh God.
But you know what? I will say the Lethal White cover is growing on me. I hated it at first because I thought it looked like a standard crime novel, and I guess it still does.
Which is what they were going for. Yeah, that's what they were going for.
It wasn't by mistake, but I've come to like it. I don't know why. I've gotten used to it. All right, so let's wrap it up there. We can discuss Lethal White more in the weeks ahead as we all finish. We'll do it spoiler free though because we don't want to upset anybody. But needless to say, I think J.K. Rowling has done it again between this great trailer, this Nagini shocker, and Lethal White. We're lucky to have J.K. Rowling in our lives. Hear, hear!
Hear, hear.
Don't forget our website, MuggleCast.com. It's got everything you need pertaining to this show. You can download every episode in our archive. We've got access to our advertiser deals. You can support us on Patreon, and you can contact us. There's a contact form right there, our voicemail line as well, and a direct email address and links to our social media. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
Micah.
And I'm Laura.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.